The time is 7:01 p.m. and I'll call to order the October 3rd, 2024 Budget Committee for the Town of Nottingham. Rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll start with roll call.
Donna Danis.
Robert Kelly.
Charlotte Fife.
Sandra Jones.
Owen Friend Gray.
Michael Kelly.
Tim DeBrio.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Karen Quinn.
Jill Eldridge. Danielle Roy. Ellen White.
That puts us at a full complement this evening. Approval for meeting minutes from 9/5. Are there any discussions, edits, recommendations?
I had just one edit, line 65. Charlotte Fife indicated that the CIP has had 2 meetings, and that was actually me, not Charlotte. Donna Danis.
Line 107, it says peer negotiations, it should be paraprofessional negotiations.
What line number was yours, Donna?
65?
65.
Yeah.
You said just one meeting?
That was the person.
Yeah, all of the
Oh.
content was correct,
Okay.
it was just the identification of the individual. Although Charlotte is there as well.
I think in line 108, it's where it says the same BA and administrator. I wonder if that's supposed to be superintendent?
Yeah. And I was present. I'm not listed as a member present though. So.
Okay.
You can add Michael Kelly to line 6.
Got skipped.
You're not skipped.
Anything else? So I would entertain a motion to approve meeting minutes with corrections to lines 6, adding Michael Kelly, 65, changing Charlotte Fife to Donna Danis, Charlotte Fife, excuse me, Donna Danis. Yeah, 107 from peer to paraprofessional, and 108 from administrator to superintendent.
So moved.
Motion by Donna,
Second.
second by Sandra, sorry. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 11-0. Bylaw review. I know I got this out late, everybody. Not sure if people have had a chance to review it, digest it, read through it. The document's a little cumbersome. It makes slightly more sense if you know that red is one person, blue is another, and then there's additional notes that were added with initials. So those are extra notes, and then there's also red in a different font, and that's a different person. So I was trying to figure out how in track changes to make this all work better, and track changes doesn't like to be formatted. That is not how this really works. But just know that if you're seeing different colors, different initials in front of notes, or a different text font, that it's different people's thoughts on that. So sometimes there'll be multiples that are sort of repetitive or contradictory, it's seeming if you're trying to read it straight. But I think for the most part, there wasn't anything of big significance recommended for changes. we could go through and sort of talk about the big items if people want, or we could wait till next meeting. People want a little more time to read through this and digest it, depending on what the feeling of the board is. The next meeting is
For
the 24th, where we're going to start working through the default budgets and committee reports.
I think we need to do as much as we can with this tonight, because once we start on working actual budgets, we're going to be very busy.
I
Okay.
agree.
Sounds good. So I guess I will probably go through the document, sort of try to give maybe an overall of how I kind of mash the different thoughts and ideas together, so people maybe have a better idea of what is being shown, and then maybe we'll go through kind of section by section, see what people think. So the first one, purpose. So the Litchfield version just had a very simple purpose of saying essentially that the purpose of this is just to be the bylaws. Donna had the recommendation of perhaps bringing more of sort of roles or responsibilities into this section, perhaps. And then I had a thought too of maybe having, because there's a roles and responsibilities section a little further on, which was section 5, where I actually thought that it kind of conflated the roles and responsibilities of the budget committee as an entity, and then the individual budget committee members, because those are, I think, sort of different, because budget committee members don't have authority to vote or enact anything on their own. Budget committee has that, but there are things that talk about like familiarizing yourself with the laws and the RSAs and things of that nature that I thought might be better pulled out of the budget committee. So I thought maybe 2 sections up front, right after the purpose, was sort of roles and responsibilities of the committee, and then roles and responsibilities of the members, was sort of the different kind of notions that we had around that.
Yeah, I like that, actually. The reason I was suggesting that we move that up is because it puts the rest of the document in context.
Yeah.
And
I liked that thought. That's why I was thinking maybe bring that roles and responsibilities to the front.
I agree.
As opposed to having it towards the end.
I agree, yep.
Okay.
I agree.
So if everybody's amenable, I'll take a stab at splitting those 2 out in a new version. Next thing I'm gonna kick out is gonna be a clean version of what we talk about tonight. If I keep trying to track changes, it's gonna get so messy. We're never gonna be able to follow it, but
Are we gonna vote tonight, or are we gonna just pencil in stuff, or
I was kinda thinking we
see how
should
it goes?
pencil everything in, and then get one final comprehensive document to review and then vote on it. Because
Yep.
I'm not certain we're gonna get exactly where we need to be, especially if I'm
I
trying to
was trying
compile
to go through some of
ideas.
this stuff, and I'm like,
If we had to come down to voting tonight, I think we'd be having a huge discussion till 11.
Yeah.
Because we really need to think about it, but we need to
I
get.
think a vote would be premature.
Yeah.
too.
Yes, that's the same thing with, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, I'll compile, based on all the notes and feedback I get tonight, I'll pile a singular document together, clean document, distribute that to the group, and then maybe at the next meeting, once everybody's got a little more time to digest, we can sort of like the meeting minutes, no, we should change this maybe, or this isn't what I meant here, or let's adjust that piece, and then I think we could take a vote. Because then we'll have a cleaner version.
Oh, and if you're interested, just as an FYI, I'm happy to volunteer to help with that, to do the edits to the document.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Quite a bit of editing in my
Yes.
lifetime, so I'm happy to take that on.
I am in no way gonna fight you if you would like to do this. You are more than welcome.
Plus, I'm retired and you're not.
It's all right.
So should we take section B, or in section 5, that whole B section, should that move then under section 1?
I think it's either under 1 or it becomes section 2.
I like it becoming section 2.
So my kind of thought was there's like a section 2 and a section 3. And 2 is, I don't know, here's the question, should we do budget committee responsibility first and then individual members?
Yes.
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we'll do
Yep.
BC committee and then,
So in section 5, it's that insertion right there.
yeah,
Members shall make every effort to attend.
yes,
Yep.
things like that, yeah.
Yep, yep.
And then 3 will be the individual member. roles and responsibilities, attendance, familiarizing yourself with the RSAs,
Yep.
those kinds of things. So while we're on that topic, probably stick then with 5, since that's now going to be section 2 and 3. So let's jump to 5 and talk about, because there was some different concepts here on 5, talking about the individual committee ideas versus the joint ideas. So, point was made, consistency with BOS would be a good thing to consider. I think a fair amount of this is also in other portions, but I'm not sure it's quite as succinctly stated as the BOS ones. So, for example, the first one, members shall make every effort to attend each meeting, have prepared and read materials in advance.
And I think that needs to be said, because that's never been said out loud, that you need to be doing, that part of being here is homework.
Yeah, yeah. But I would say that's also pretty much kind of item C, which is meeting attendance. All members should make every effort to attend each meeting. Elected members shall cease to hold office. So that's more of a more expansive sort of version of that. Then it also goes into defining excused absence. There's a couple other sub-bullets under there.
I had a question on one of those. Under meeting attendance, alpha, it says me without being excused by the chair. But down below, under B, delta, right, BD,
Yeah.
whatever that is, or is that D, is that B crossed out?
B is crossed out and then D, so it's the fourth one there,
No,
yeah.
so that shall be made both to the chair or vice chair, should be,
Yep.
say either?
Yeah,
Shall
probably.
be
So
made either? I don't,
I would think it would be either or
Is it
both.
either or both? I think.
Probably both.
think
I
it
know
should be
like when I've
both.
been missed in the past, I emailed both.
Yeah.
Said, hey, sorry, I can't make it, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then,
so the or, should the or be and then?
Yeah, both to the chair and vice
Yeah.
chair.
You know what I mean, that's what, that was confusing.
Yeah.
That's what, it's like spinning in circles a
You
little
have,
bit.
if you're not going to be here, you need to call you and, the chair, vice chair too?
I would say, yeah, either call us both to make sure you get a hold of one of us at least, or email us both.
Yeah.
Okay,
If you're gonna send an email, it's not,
because I would only think.
it's not too bad to CC somebody
I would
else.
think the chair first and then the vice chair.
Yeah,
Send it
email
off.
is a record of it, you know what I mean, like, hey,
Yeah,
email.
email is definitely the way to do it, because then you have a record if anybody asks a
Yep.
question.
Exactly.
That's true.
So email would be the preferable way, since that's our primary communication anyway.
And another quick question on the Bravo, the last one. Out of town due to unavoidable issues, family, is that just, like an example there, family emergency or illness? Because I said I'm gonna be out of town for work next,
Yeah, and that's excused.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just is.
It's, I was just saying, I didn't know if it.
We don't want you to get fired from your job. Because you're gonna, you know.
You want my tax money, I need to work.
Actually, one kind of thing I felt about that was I think having examples is probably good, but I don't think that that's all inclusive. And, nor should it be. I think there's gotta be some discretion left, and I'll put my personal experience out there in that I have a vacation coming up
Yes,
that I had planned well before I decided to run.
and that is clearly an excused
Yeah,
absence.
exactly.
It's not unexcused. It's not like you're just
So
not
perhaps we
helping, you're
shouldn't-
showing up.
Shouldn't have all the examples, but to have, to contact the people and, I don't know, all the examples sounds like that's limiting.
Correct.
Yes. Like, sounds like your vacation wouldn't be an emergency, you see.
Right.
And I would think it would be, because you've paid for it and then planned it in advance, and there are other people in your life that are counting on you being there.
I think that there should be a term described in how long somebody's taken time off.
Well, the RSA, correct me if I'm wrong, says for subsequent unexcused absences.
All right,
And, so it's that number. And
In a
it,
row?
Do they have to be in a row?
I don't
Four
think-
cons- yeah, it says consecutive,
Consecutive.
so it would be in a row.
So in which case, yeah,
Yeah.
but, and so I think it defined excused as
Don't take a month's
not
vacation.
letting the chair no.
We've had members in the past that decided to take a long vacation and they were gonna zoom in and things of that nature, and it never came to fruition. It was
Yeah,
just a hole in this committee,
yeah.
so.
Well, I'm gonna miss 2.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So,
Let's
because
just,
I'm the one who wrote this section, I was meaning for that to give us some examples. Are we saying we just put example and have a few of those, or we want to list out all the reasons?
No,
you just
to be
leave it
honest, I would
short.
probably just
I think we should
remove the
just get
family
rid of them.
emergency or illness and just
Yeah.
say
Okay.
out of town due to
Yeah.
unavoidable issue.
Yeah.
Right, like this says immediate family, like, I don't get death and family for an aunt and uncle. They don't consider that immediate family. I mean, it's like grandparents.
We're obviously
parents.
gonna have more discretion and latitude
Yeah.
internally.
I'm
so.
just saying, it's just something that just
Yeah.
caught my
I would
eye.
take that whole section right out.
Like if a third cousin's cat died.
Yes.
In a way, I was close to that
Well,
cat.
talk about humans.
People have friends that are closer than
Yeah.
any blood relation.
Mm-hmm,
And
absolutely.
they're not going anywhere if something's happened to that friend.
Yep,
Well-
absolutely.
I have friends like that.
Well, you have up to 4 of them, so. I'm not saying you have up to 4 friends. I think you could lose 3 in a row and it's still good.
Well, no, that'd still be an excused absence. As long as you reach out, it's excused. If
So
you
I
don't
think-
reach out,
okay,
it's not
so let's
excused.
remove
No
the
examples, no examples. Just
and
ask
just
for
say-
permission and
Yeah.
go on vacation.
Just
Simple
define
question.
excused as being,
Not
given permission in advance or acknowledged in advance. And
Yeah, made notice,
unexcused
gave
is
notice in
unacknowledged, and we can just leave it at that.
Yes, please.
And we would adjust that the chair would not think Dancing with the Stars is on tonight, so I'm not going to come, right?
Yes.
That would not be
We
a
would
good
hope so.
excuse.
I would like to think if the chair starts voting for things or allowing things like that, the rest of the board votes for a new chair.
Yeah.
I think might be a pertinent way to handle that situation. I think it's good to do the electronic means. I know that was a big sticking point last year. People were very confused about. Now there's an RSA about it. I think it's fairly clear and straightforward, so that's good to have. Only
Okay.
question I would have there, Ellen, is what sort of zooming in capabilities might you be able to provide for somebody? Because the rule says you're supposed to be able to see and talk
Correct.
Or,
freely.
You need to be able to hear and communicate.
So it
yeah,
doesn't
hear
have to
and
be
speak. You
video,
don't
it
have to
It does
see
not
it.
have to be video. We do not have a Zoom account anymore. We
Okay.
surrendered that.
I misread it then. Okay, so as long as it's just here.
Yeah, so speakerphone,
Speakerphone still gets us covered. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
the
good.
biggest thing you have to do is just make sure you acknowledge it at the beginning of the meeting that such and
Yes.
such is joining remotely.
Yep.
And so is that for any reason? Somebody can participate?
No, I think that
Good
one.
question.
Oh, sick or
I think
Says-
that one should be more like physically unable to attend, like
yeah,
this says.
for any.
It's not practically reasonable.
Not practically reasonable.
Yeah,
Just leave it.
yeah. I think that makes sense, you know. We don't want anybody showing up with COVID, but
No, for
When
sure,
people had
100%.
COVID, they could be at home.
Yeah.
And I was told when I had COVID that I couldn't function, and I had to miss 2 meetings.
yeah, because we weren't sure how any of the rules
couldn't
worked,
co-
but
I
hopefully
couldn't
this
come in
covers
here.
it. Yeah, we weren't allowed to for a
Didn't
while.
let Jeff in.
I had the police tell me not, that I wasn't allowed to attend here, so.
So I think just the thing about audio participation is that I think, Owen, it puts more onus on you
It does.
to make sure that that person.
They have
is-
to talk to that person and see if they can
Exactly,
insert
'cause
themselves into the
It's difficult to
conversation.
insert yourself in a conversation.
I realized I did that to you last time, Jill. I wasn't asking you frequently enough during, if you had anything to add, because it's hard to organically insert yourself.
You know, like you must have a conference device for.
We don't.
Yeah, see, well, that's what's cool about Zoom is you can raise your hand.
We don't even have a telephone within this meeting space. Maybe as we transition over to the other one, that's something that we can consider.
Or
That's
Teams.
happening soon.
Teams, same thing, we use Teams at work.
Yeah.
You can even use a free Zoom account and re-sign back in every 40 minutes. It's not the end of the world. You can re-sign into the same meeting. I've done it before.
Pain, though.
It is a little annoying, but it's something if it's hard for people to hear. But yeah, I would imagine on a cell phone, you're not catching everything the same way you would with actual conferencing equipment. So that would be worth looking into. Okay, so we'll keep that portion of it. trying to think if there's anything else here that was, budget hearings should be regular committee meetings. I would agree, with that concept. I think those are all sort of part of the duties, which makes me think maybe we put that in the example in going to be section 2, where it's the individual. Yeah, you should attend all meetings inclusive of regular meetings, budget hearings, all of our sort of, presentations, whatever we want to say, but all of sort of the regular meetings.
I think that's good. I think we should do that. The one thing, so I think one of the things I struggled with is this solely for us? Or does this also give people in the community an understanding of how we operate and what standards we hold ourselves to?
I think the second, that it should be a document that the community is aware of and knows exactly what we hold ourselves to. I wouldn't think of it as otherwise.
Right, technically both, I guess, right?
I think it's both, yeah. So bylaws are essentially your own laws you're making about yourself on how you operate. But it should be
So other
transparent in
people know
all things.
what's going on.
Yeah, so I do think that we should have that in individual members' responsibilities, but then, and I can't remember if it's covered here actually, but it's kind of like, maybe there's a section on, here's the process that we go through, right? There's actually a really good, did anybody else go to or participate in the NHMA workshop? Which I went to, and they actually had some really like good graphics that shows kind of like what the process is. So I'm thinking maybe if we insert something like that, and hearings would be a part of that, right? So it would be the reviews, and then the hearings, and then the voting. Just to kind of, again, give people an indication of how we get to a budget that gets presented at deliberative.
I think there's a difference.
How's that,
I mean,
how would that be recorded? Just meeting minutes, or do we just go step by step? Like, hey, we're looking at a budget. You talk to the town, you talk to the school, they come back, they explain some things like that,
Yeah.
We go through the process.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as simple as, the department heads present their budgets and we review them. There's frequently 2 or 3 review meetings leading up to the public hearing, at which point the budget committee makes decisions on whether to recommend or not recommend, and then that's what is put forward at the budget.
That sounds really kind of outside the purview of bylaws. That sounds like an educational document, which might have a lot of value.
Well, that's why I was just asking.
I think any document we create is by its nature a public document that the public has access to. But I think there's a difference between our rules of governance and public education.
Yeah, that's why I just asked that question, yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a process flow.
Which is
Right,
on the
like a-
website, I think, under the
Like, is
budget,
it
with the
that
budget committee
graphic?
section.
Or it could be added as an addendum, sort
Yeah.
of a informational.
So don't put that in here?
I don't think you need to put
I wouldn't
that
say
in.
that level of detail. I mean, this
Okay.
document has some things about particular meetings, like annual and special town and district meetings,
Okay.
convening special meetings, things like that a little bit, but yeah.
Okay.
I was just wondering, Ellen, are you crunched for time tonight? I was wondering if we're gonna be on this document for a while, I'm wondering if we might wanna change the order of events, and then you could make your presentation and scoot, because we got a lot of late nights coming up for you, and just,
on our commute?
Good
yeah.
point.
Is that, I mean, does the board entertain that?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely, so I
Great call.
would move to adjust items 5 and 7 on the agenda.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjust items 5 and 7. We're gonna move town budget update to now, and then we'll do the bylaws
Second that?
later. Seconded by whom?
Motion
By
by
Charlotte.
Mike, second by Charlotte.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, 11-0. Town budget, how we doing?
Thank you.
Are we looking at this?
We are. So if you refer to the town operating budget, it's a 11 or so page document, double-sided, stapled. This is not our official budget worksheet that you're used to. This is just our quarterly financials out of our accounting program. We tried to pretty it up a little bit for you. So we briefly reviewed this on Monday at the last select board meeting. The issue is the quarter ended on September 30th, so there is still some data entry. There's still some stuff that might post to the quarter. So this is a working document. It's also the reason why you're not looking at the revenues tonight, because obviously we're still posting stuff. So the way that I look at budget status is I take it by the quarter, say, hey, we're 75% of the way through the year, and if you look at the very last page, we have 26.84% of our operating budget remaining.
Nice.
It's actually a little bit better than that at present, because we're posting all of the building maintenance that we're doing right now to the line items within the operating budget. And then quarterly, I'm going through and trying to reconcile what needs to be withdrawn from the building maintenance expendable trust fund that we had a warrant article for $150,000 approved this year, just to deal with some of the deferred maintenance and other items that have come up. So for the first 2 quarters, I think I moved about $26,000 in expenditures that will be reimbursed from that expendable trust fund. And I think for this 3rd quarter, just rough figures, I have about $14,000 that will be coming back. So the line items will be adjusted. So the percentage is probably a little bit better. But we also do have a lot of expenditures that are coming up in this 4th quarter. A lot of our annual software subscriptions don't get paid out until November. Our annual mapping maintenance. Obviously, we still have 6 pay periods of the year left to post for salaries and benefits. So we're not doing bad in spite of being in a default budget, albeit there were several things that we weren't able to take care of this year, just with the budgetary constraints.
I think the other challenge too is that for the most of the year, we've been down to 3 full-time firefighters and short 2 full-time police
Yes.
officers.
So 2 vacancies, full-time police, 2 for the fire department, and we also spent most of the summer down 1 full-time slot in the highway department to help absorb some of the overages with the winter snow plowing.
And the big ticket items of the ones you weren't able to take care of would be,
Was that position pulled off?
Which one? The highway department?
Yeah.
No, we had a full crew of 4 plus the highway director. We had 1 employee that separated ways the beginning of summer, and then we just decided not to backfill it. We just started re-advertising for it, just to, like I said, give the department budget some relief.
So somebody left and wasn't filled,
Correct,
roughly?
yes.
All right.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, our larger ticket items that weren't fulfilled, but, I mean, the biggest brunt of it took place with the road reconstruction and paving. A lot of that money, it was traditionally $300,000 in the operating budget, $300,000 in a separate warrant article. 2 years ago, it was $200 and $400. This past year, it was $100 in the operating, $500 in the warrant article, and so we don't have any money towards that. What we're doing right now for road reconstruction projects is essentially working off of encumbered funds that were raised in 2023 just to finish another section of Deerfield Road and a drainage project on Highland Ave. But other than that, you know, they've been able to do some ditch work, some brush clearing, but essentially not like rebuilding any roads or paving or resurfacing. So I will say that was probably the biggest impact.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Other than that, I mean, you got stuff kind of here, there, and everywhere. Obviously, fire and PD are making up really big portions of the savings. You have, of course, a couple big overages, legal expenses, we all know. That line is over quite a bit.
What line is that? Which one are we looking at?
Page 3 towards the bottom. Looks like we're about 20,000 over there. I believe, might have been the last meeting, I think maybe Tim, you had mentioned that was over. But overall, we're fortunate, I guess, in a weird way, to not have filled some positions, because that's making the budget work. Is there any concern that if those positions get filled here in the near future, the budget is gonna go over?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there contingency plans or anything that are being thought of, or things that you need us to look at?
I mean, overall, right now, it's the recruitment end of it to incentivize. One of the biggest challenges that we all know that we're facing is to get a qualified person to fill some of these positions. You're talking about moving from one municipality to another. With the police and fire, it's not an issue because they are enrolled in the New Hampshire retirement, but for the rest of the full-time employees, we're not for group one, so that is a challenge. The other part of it is being competitive with our wages and benefits, and also being competitive enough so that we can retain our existing staff and not having them move on. So we wiped out the merit compensation pool, so there was no cost of living adjustments or merit increases offered to the employees this year. So, you know, just hope with the good grace that people will remain to stay because they're happy here and because they like what they're doing, and hopefully we can, you know, give some type of an incentive towards them in the future budget year. But
What is the likelihood that some of those open positions will be filled before the end of the year?
we did just fill one of the full-time fire department slots, the firefighter EMT slot, and so there's still one vacancy on that. We're able to supplement with part-time and per diem just to get the shift coverage. I don't know that there's any candidates in the pool. I believe the police department may have a candidate.
And with the one fire department hire, do you think that that will already have a significantly negative impact on the budget status?
No, because it's already, they're already budgeted for the positions. That's what's absorbing some of the other.
We were down 2 them. We added 1 recently.
Correct.
We
Just
were
within the
down
past
3
2
going
weeks.
into the year.
Yes.
Yeah. Ellen, planning and zoning,
Mhm.
so.
Page are you on, Don?
I'm
Just so we
sorry.
can all follow along.
Sorry, did you want to go section by section?
Well, no, I was just,
I was just looking at the ones that are over.
yeah, I was just wondering, I didn't know where it was in the document. So, page?
Fifth page,
Yeah.
counting backs and fronts towards the top.
Yeah, 4 and 5.
Yeah, bottom of 4, top of 5.
So. With,
So with our operating budget, you have to raise and appropriate the money in order to expend it. So what we did in the past was we would put a budget line item for, just for example, for the planning board and the zoning board, because they're specific to your advertising costs for your public notices, your butters notices that have to be sent out certified. We would put a line item for the expense, and then we would show it on the revenue side, those fees coming in from the applicant. But those were removed through the budget season last year, so now we still have to post it somewhere within the operating budget, and we're receiving it as a revenue, but it's gonna show as
so
over
these are
because
showing
there's
we're
no money
over, but we're really not,
Correct.
because it's not showing the.
Correct, so I tried to put a note off to the
Yeah.
side that said there's a revenue offset.
Yeah.
So essentially, all of that is being picked up with the applicant, as well as if there's a project that requires engineering oversight or legal consultation, the applicant does pay for those, but they're billed through the town.
Got it, okay.
Any other questions on budget and Q3? We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
sticking around.
Yeah, it looks like you guys are doing a good job.
Tight budget and you're
It's
about on
tight,
task,
yeah,
so
yeah.
good job.
Yeah, we're
Thank
trying
you.
to meet, the department heads and I are trying to meet at least every other month to review this, and we got a little bit nervous towards like, I think it was like month 6, we were looking at the highway department and they were already 60% absorbed. So it was an extreme breaking pattern at that point, and they've done very well, but that's because we have very thoughtful, caring department heads.
Good.
Responsible.
That's good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
thanks, Ellen.
Thank you.
Excellent.
night.
So,
Thank you.
back to bylaws. Yeah, well, technically I need to do calendar update, I guess, according to the order.
Yeah.
But calendar's been updated based on our previous commentary that we gave. Ellen was kind enough to do that. Let me know if you got any questions. It seemed to reflect what we discussed, as far as I can tell. Hearings and recommendations are the same nights for town and school, that Tuesday, Thursday week.
You know if we're okay on the town department heads on the 12th and 14th? Do we want to try and organize those, or?
Yeah, I was going to, and then send something out, and I just never got to it, so that's on me still.
Yeah, kind of split, you know, as, you know, give them
If you'd
as
like,
much of a heads up as.
They're gonna be meeting with the Board of Selectmen and then 2 meetings before that.
Yeah.
So I can let you know kind of the timeframe
Yeah.
that, you know,
Oh, that
because
would
we'll be
good.
breaking it up, thinking the same way, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
that'd
if
be
you
great.
wouldn't mind advising on that point, so we'll wait to hear from that. But that's what, November 12th and 14th, and you said you're meeting right before, so
Yep.
we can just ask different departments to come on the different nights, make life a little easier for them. So Fawn isn't here until midnight.
Yeah.
I don't know why PD's always last. Okay, anything else on calendar? Okay, excellent. Now back to bylaws. There we go, now we're in order. Okay, so we were talking through responsibilities. I think we had gotten through finding meetings. Okay, so, next item, I had made a note on, after meeting attendance, there was item D, which I ended up trying to make sort of a subset, but of the attendance. But there's a couple different places. I noticed we don't talk anywhere in here about CIP or Facilities Committee, which I think would be nice to have in the bylaws in case there's heavy turnover and people aren't remembering exactly who's on what committees or how. I figured it would be good to have that in here to say that we typically have now a representative and an alternative that go to those meetings. I couldn't decide, and I'd be curious people's perspectives on if that should be under, I was thinking it would be under individuals, but then there's also a section in here on, where is it? Not organization, officers, yes.
I think that belongs there,
Okay.
because it's a responsible role, and the officers just lists what everybody is in a responsible role. And those are responsible roles that you have.
Versus responsibilities and duties of the budget committee, because
Yeah, I
that's
think it would fall under
specific
there.
for officers. And those two positions aren't officers.
I guess what's defined as an officer then, for my educational purposes? Does that have a legal meaning?
I don't know the
Well, I
answer
think-
to that question,
I think it would
but
be,
it's
you've got the chair and the vice chairs,
Right.
they do
So
have
they're
more
probably
responsibilities.
Voted on positions, because those are voted on as
Yeah.
opposed to, the other ones are kind of voluntary.
Yeah.
Right.
What I might wonder about is, do we want to put in a section maybe after that that is something like a section that talks about committee representation?
They'll just have it its own thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we could do that.
That's a good idea, then it separates it from officers, because officers are elected and voted on, even if they're elected and voted on by just us. Whereas who wants to be on the CIP, okay, I'll do it, is how we do that.
We could put it under organization too,
Yeah.
as a separate section under organization. So organization has, talks about how many members there are.
Page me on.
Two.
Thank you.
Or it says 3 at the bottom, but, so that one talks about, so there's 11 members rotating.
Is that what we have? Yeah, because we have the ex officio members there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe actually it should be 9 voted members,
At
2
large.
ex officios for a total of
It's-
11.
It's 9
That's
at
probably
large
more.
and 2 ex officios.
Yeah. And then, do we put, so then we have, yeah, that, officers, and then maybe under that, that's where your
Yep.
committee members?
So a
That would be
C
a logical
section.
place. Yeah.
No pun intended.
Okay, that'll work. Excellent.
Owen,
Yeah.
can I just ask, what exactly do you mean by facilities committee? Are you talking about Alan Trant or the facilities committee?
I'm on facilities for
Oh, so, oh, the
school.
school.
Yep.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Probably, I didn't
You got
use the right words, I'm
CIP
sure.
in the school.
Yep, sorry.
Yep.
Yep.
Is that the only two?
We will be forming one for the town, most likely,
Town facilities?
yeah.
Wasn't
So-
there a transportation one, but we had a contract?
No, that's
already?
part of the school.
Oh, is it?
There's only two right now that I'm aware of.
Do we want to leave it kind of as a open,
Probably,
yeah, so not like these are the committees, but, you know,
no. Members,
representatives to,
Because we do have different ones every year, like
Yeah.
Tim is just saying, there's going to be a town facilities committee,
Yeah.
and then it hasn't been, it's been only the school. When you say facilities committee,
Yeah.
we've just always just thought school.
In my professional experience with bylaws, you want to be
It is school
a little
facility.
vague, because whatever is in your bylaws, you have to do.
It
So
is
kind
school
of the
facilities
minimum-
that I'm on. I have
kind of the
nothing to do
minimum
with the
bar.
town
Right.
on that.
yeah,
so I do think that like, some committees come and go, but something like CIP is important and permanent.
maybe what we do is we talk that we appoint, a representative and an alternative member to committees within the town such as
Yep.
CIP, school
You
facilities,
can be like may serve.
may serve, yeah, use that sort of, yeah.
If you have a primary and a secondary, I believe that those two people can't serve at the same time or attend the same meeting. I can't cite it right now, but I'm pretty sure it's
Really?
legal. Yeah.
Hmm.
So like CIP then?
Interesting. 'Cause-
So,
Like-
so if you were to attend a school's facilities meeting, or Karen's an alternate right now, which is what was agreed upon last time. If her and I showed up at a school facilities meeting, I believe that's illegal.
Well, she could go as a member of the public.
She
I think what it is that you don't both get to have a say or vote.
Right.
Right.
And we don't necessarily vote or anything like that. I'm just saying if you attend it and you sit at, her and I can't come back to this committee at the same time and say, hey, we both sat over here and we were talking about this.
That makes sense.
It's like with CIP, I'm
Yeah.
the rep.
I'm just the princess, you're the queen.
She's a public member, but if I can't be there, then she's also the alternative. But
Same.
it's not
Similar.
like we're co-representatives
Yeah.
at each meeting.
Be careful.
Okay. Interesting.
Sounds good. Okay. Um,
Well, Duke can help.
this is, of course, getting a little confusing because we're hashing all of this and moving everything around. But I think that covers. No, there was one more, sorry. Okay, so F, under what was 5, which is the responsibilities. There's a communication archivist.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of questions about this. Some people seem to like it. Some people, oh, shouldn't say some people. I wasn't sure we needed it. Only reason being, I kind of liked the idea of more communication and better communication, but I didn't necessarily like, at least the way this was worded, where it was one person who was responding to the public. I thought that might get us in trouble.
Absolutely.
As a board.
Where are we?
Absolutely.
Sorry, yeah. It's page 6, it's got the
That's a
6 at the
redundancy
bottom.
that's going to create a lot of confusion.
And there's item F,
Yep.
communication archivist. So I almost wonder if that's sort of like, I feel, what Ellen or the Board of Selectmen's role is in terms of the execution and sort of the day-to-day runnings of the town. So I almost wonder if we just
I'm in agreement with that.
either we note that primary communications should be through the town administrator, and let the town administrator do the primary communications, and leave something into this effect, or if we just don't mention it at
I
all,
would
I'm
just
not
leave
sure.
it.
Leave it
Anything we put,
out.
anything we put is adding confusion and adding different interpretations to it. When I saw that piece, I particularly didn't like it. I tried to answer and somehow nothing got through, so
Oh,
my
okay.
little comments didn't get here, but
Yeah, I think
that's my fault.
our meeting minutes are the archive, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if,
Are
And
there
we have-
occasions that we
we have
have
a
been
recording.
using Ellen as our spokesperson?
Not that I can think of. I don't know if anybody's ever like emailed in and asked a question. I'm trying to think of an example. I can't come up with anything.
That's 1-800.
Then let's not add it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just for
I
simplicity's
mean,
sake, just scrap
doesn't
it.
mean we can't decide to do something in the future.
True,
It's
if we
just
have it in the
this
bylaws or
bylaws
past
to do it.
Right. Okay, so we'll scrap
Right.
that one
And-
for now, but keep that.
So if I can just make, follow
Yeah, I
on
think it's
to
best
that
gone.
point, I agree that we should leave it out, because I think that, the meeting minutes are the archive. However, as we get closer to having a budget, I think we as a committee need to do a better job communicating about what's in there, why we recommend or don't recommend. Because remember, the budget that goes to the deliberative is our budget. And so I think when we get there, we need to think about how do we communicate to help educate people on what's in the budget better.
we're on television right now.
Cool.
No, but.
You gotta have cable.
Eh,
I don't even have
If we have
cable.
open comment here and stuff like that, I mean,
Yeah, but people, how many people are watching, right?
Well, I tell you, you try and eat your supper here, and
Should
all
we
spirits
write
of
in here?
people are watching.
should we write in here that we're gonna stick a stick in somebody's back and make them watch TV to see what we're doing? I mean,
Mike.
if you wanna know, you can watch.
I think it comes
Yeah.
to like when the public hearing and the deliberative session are probably the two meetings that are most important to communicate that, because people don't tune into like this meeting right now.
I disagree.
I was gonna ask you if you were suggesting something other than what we're currently doing.
I'm suggesting being a little more proactive about making sure that people get the information. And this is for down the road, once we have a budget. But I think that through this last year and this last budget cycle, that there wasn't enough sharing of information about why things were in the budget. And I've felt this way for the last 10 years probably, but I do think that we can't just expect that people are gonna come to the hearing or they're gonna watch TV. I think we've gotta find a way to be more proactive about it.
So would
And
that be on the
again-
town or in the school district, or do you think that would be on the budget committee?
Well, I think we have to talk about that, but I think we have to look at the fact that it's our budget that goes to the deliberative.
Right.
So I think we have some onus, as you have some onus
Right.
as well.
It's our budget that goes to the select board and then comes
Right.
back, and then we vote to recommend or not,
No,
and
it's
that's where
our,
it
it's
goes in
our
front of the
budget that
town.
goes to the deliberative session. It's our budget that goes to the deliberative session. So if we are presenting a budget to the deliberative session.
And that's the point of the deliberative session, is it's fully explained in front of the taxpayers for anybody that wants to show up and make any comments.
As long as the budget committee can sit up front, which is not what happened last year's deliberative session, which was really shocking.
I'll just say one more thing, and then I'll let it go, but I think we're now in an SB2 situation, and people don't come to the deliberative session, but people do go to the ballot box.
Yeah,
So-
food
so you
for
think-
thought, I think we can address
So
later. I'm
since
not
we're
sure we
in
need to address it as part of the
SB2,
bylaws.
You think that the budget committee should have a special meeting to,
No,
are we gonna sit here, go line by line in front of people and have like 2 or 3 people?
I think a
show up?
document or something on the website or something that people can review.
I mean, I don't wanna hide any information or anything like that, it's out there, but that's the purpose of the deliberatives. The town and the school deliberative is going through all of that stuff.
yep.
Well, I think this is all good stuff for later.
For later, I
Figure out
agree.
later. Right now, let's get back to the bylaws. So I think that wraps up, if I'm not mistaken, what is labeled in here as section 5, which we are turning into 2 and 3.
Yep.
Okay, so then let's go back, try try to get ourselves back into order a little bit, to the, what is labeled as section 2, which will now be 4, the organization section.
Can I go back to section 1?
Yes, absolutely.
The first bullet point in red, the role of the budget committee is to, I'd like to include review expenditures, comma, prepare the annual budget for presentation to the legislative body. I was just reading through this document from NHMA, and that is one of the roles of the budget committee is to review, the current year's expenditures. Right there, on page 2.
Well,
Do you feel
It
that's
does say that in the
covered
bottom
the
right here.
last bullet,
Is that
which
farther down?
Review the
comparison.
of budgeted versus actuals.
Throughout the year.
Okay.
Isn't that review of expenditures, is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
That's what I'm,
Yes, I agree with
I'm
you.
asking, if that's
Yeah, I mean-
adequate for Michael, is what I'm asking.
Sure.
Is it the word?
Is that clear enough?
Is it the
I
word?
thought so.
Yeah. Michael, would you feel better if it had the actual word expenditures in it?
I like the word expenditures. I think it's pretty simple and clear.
So budgeted versus actual expenditures on
Yeah,
a quarterly basis.
Yep, okay.
budgeted versus actual expenditures.
And revenues.
Yeah, expenditures and revenues. That's all I had in section 1.
thank you. Anybody else? Anything else on section 1? Okay, so organization. We made the comment, 9 at large, 2 ex officio. Donna, if you have that.
Yep.
And then that all made sense to me. I think everything else is pretty linear. Question. Chair and vice chair shall be elected annually at the first regular scheduled meeting. And I just left it at that.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think that April 30th, when I was reading through the document, that seemed to be Litchfield's
Yeah, exactly.
cycle start,
That's-
I think.
And I didn't know if we wanted to put, I don't think we should, but I didn't know if
No,
anybody
I-
felt strongly about
They
putting a
meet,
date on it.
Litchfield meets year-round.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they don't have the
Yeah.
break that
Yeah,
we,
yeah.
So I thought it made sense if we just tried to leave it a little more
Yep.
open-ended. First meeting, then we're good to go. Vacancies, they get appointed.
so just going back to, I'm sorry, I don't want
Yeah, yeah.
to belabor this point, but to the point where we don't meet during the second and maybe into the third quarter is maybe you remove the, review the comparison of budget versus actual and just say regular basis instead of quarterly basis throughout the year in section 1.
Good point.
It's a good one. Keeps us from overcommitting ourselves when we don't need to be. That works. And then the only other edit, under officers, so organization officers, and then on the second one, it said during the first regular meeting, I just said during the next, because I'm not really sure why I would say first if somebody needed to be appointed. It seems like you just do it the next time you have an opportunity. But I think that was it. Section, or does anybody else have anything on that one? Yeah.
Going back to A, sorry.
No worries.
Is it just assumed that an alternate for an ex officio also has the full voting?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in the RSA.
But it's just still the same thing, you can't have two ex officios, only one has a vote, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing we talked about earlier.
No, this is,
No,
this
a
is
little bit
different, so
If an alternate is here
we have,
instead.
we have 2 ex officios here.
Yeah.
That have full voting rights, but they're not members at large.
Yes,
But their alternates, if they are here, can vote.
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
that was.
yeah, okay, I get you now.
Wanted to
Yep.
make sure, yep.
And have, so that's never been a question.
Yep. Okay, so anything else in the organization section there? Nothing else, then we could go to duties of officers. Only thing here that sort of seemed to get picked up on just about everybody was secretary. We don't really run that position, so I'm just gonna assume we strike it. We really only have the 2 officers, chair and vice chair that we actually vote on and have duties. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
I'm
Yes.
in agreement with
Okay.
that, yeah.
So we'll axe
So
that.
who took the minutes for our meeting?
We have somebody that takes them. So
And
this is
they're
the,
not considered
and this is the
essential.
piece I don't understand. I mean, I don't know why in this document, and there is an officer, because it's hired, the position is hired by the town, so it's not a voted position. So
No,
it's-
I'm thinking that
Okay.
Litchfield has somebody on their board that takes the meeting minutes while they're going.
No.
Pittsfield does
They
as
don't.
well.
No, it's hired by the town. It's a position hired by the town. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of.
Oh, I thought you were saying this town.
No,
Sorry, no. I
no.
get
So
you
it's
now.
it's kind of weird that it's in there. I think
is.
it's yeah, but
Yeah, okay, so I think we just
We
strike
don't
it.
need
I
that.
don't see any need for it. Anything else for officers? Then on to vacancies. So this one had some different notions. If there is a vacancy, who gets reached out to? Some people mentioned reaching out to people who sought election. Others mentioned added, advertising to everybody. I was wondering if we wanted to, because these are bylaws, bind ourselves to anything in particular, if we wanted to just say something a little more general, like chair of the committee shall advertise and seek appointment at a predetermined upcoming meeting.
Right.
Or
and
something
because-
like that. Leave it as general as we can, so we're allowed to flexibility in the
And then if
moment.
people who ran before
Yeah.
and lost, they can see that and they can come.
Yeah, I would think we kind of
Which
just
is what
leave it as
happens.
open as you can, and if certain
Yeah.
people want to reach out to other people, then I don't think that's necessarily a problem. But I don't know if we want to necessarily bind ourselves exactly. Because if we don't do that, and then somebody who did somebody forgets to reach out to them personally, then we technically get ourselves in
Exactly.
trouble, so just a little more general.
So advertise
sense.
and then, yeah.
Okay,
So essentially, it's gonna be like the process that we went through
This time.
with Karen this time,
yeah.
Yep.
right?
Right.
Okay,
I think we've actually done it 3 years in a row now.
okay, good, yep.
4?
No,
Yeah,
three,
it'll happen
four.
Yeah.
Four.
It was like 3 meetings into my first term and
Yeah,
saw that. So,
maybe more than
And then we
four.
had
It might
opening
be. It
before
seems
the
to be
election,
pretty-
remember that one that wasn't?
Oh, yeah, well,
Posted.
that was very strange.
Yes,
We won't do that again.
I hope not.
And then then there was a question on,
Somewhere in it about tie votes. And, I'm not-
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
finding
further
it,
on.
But I think we do need to have something about that.
We
because
do.
that-
Yeah.
but I was trying to remember, Donna, I'm trying to read it here and remember what you had written, but, any appointed person serving on the committee shall serve until the next town annual, when a successor shall be elected to fill the remaining unexpired term or start a new term, as the case may be. And you had a question, do we really want this? I didn't quite understand
Well,
your.
do we really want this? I'm sorry if I put it in the wrong place, but it was tied to the comments about the next person who had at least 1%.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I put
No,
it in the wrong place.
I was also compiling, so it's very possible
Yeah,
I
yeah.
put it in the wrong spot, so
Person
we'll
that
just
had-
ignore that.
all right.
That
But-
doesn't apply to this section. I
But,
put it
We're
in the
keeping
wrong
C
spot.
then.
but the comment about any person appointed serving until the next annual meeting, I think is important to have in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is how we've done it, so that's
Yep.
good.
Sorry about that misplaced.
So, yeah, I guess essentially the way I was trying to word it, and I didn't put this in a good enough, Tim recommended this language. I think that's what I was trying to say, and I believe I might have summarized it right, Tim, but if you want to sort of make your point, I think your version of it made the most sense to me, because it was sort of the most,
Well, I think that, again, it's what the budget committee has done.
yeah.
So I just
It
think
looks
that's
good.
summarizing kind of, but that way there you can say this is, so if
Yeah.
people do have
Yeah.
issues, you can say, well, this is our process.
Yeah, so,
And I think with the bylaws, you're gonna vote on them every year anyway.
yes, and that's
So if you wanna make
actually one of the
changes, you can do
things
that.
in here somewhere, is that this
Right.
gets reviewed. It's one of the regular duties of the budget committee is to review the bylaws annually.
Perfect.
So it helps make sure everybody's still familiar with it. But at least that'll help Donna with the verbiage. I think Ted did good with that. 5, we already beat to death. So I think that one's good, unless you got any other questions.
Well, yeah, there was just one statement, BC. It shall be the policy of the Budget Committee to require 2 separate meetings to vote on any budget request. One meeting to have the request presented and discussed, and then a
Oh, yes,
subsequent
that one.
meeting when voting will take place. I flagged it because they had it there, and I didn't know if it was relevant to us
Yeah.
or not.
2 separate
I think
meetings to vote.
mandatory extra meetings when we have trouble getting enough meetings anyway, is just, like you said, keeping it simple and vague without the requirement there.
Well, they have an out though, right? This
But
policy may
this,
be waived.
this would be a
Right.
requirement if
So
we
it's an out.
were to stick with C, right?
Well, I think we have 2 meetings anyway, so like I kind of take it as.
I
Yeah.
thought we did.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
Right?
through the reviews and the hearings and everything.
Yes.
By default, you're gonna get to that point anyway.
But do we need to state it, I guess, is the question.
I don't think so, because we have what the process is of how we go through
Right.
it.
I'd leave it vague and
I think
I
we could
Do we
take it
just
out.
I would
strike the whole
suggest
thing?
striking it.
Yeah, just strike the whole thing
Yeah.
that lets us do what we need to make sure it gets done, even though we typically do it that way?
Yep.
Okay,
Right.
makes sense, that's easy enough. Anything else on duties, roles, responsibilities, whatever we're calling this?
Nope.
Okay, conduct, meeting conduct, so this would be page 7, what's shown as section 6. A little bit of housekeeping, just noting that we typically start the first Thursday in September. Change some words like shall to should again to make the point, but not bind ourselves problematically in case anything happens. I think the standard meeting is pretty much what we do already anyway. And that also says may include, but is not limited to, so
Yep.
vague enough that it does whatever. Tim, you had a point here at the bottom of page 7, presentations to the committee shall submit any documents. I like that, so that we actually have some time to review it. My only question was 2 weeks, is that too much if we're meeting on a weekly basis? So I wonder if maybe we say submit it at least 1 week in advance? That was my only
Yeah.
thought, but I like the rest of it. I think
Yeah.
it makes sense. If people are gonna try to submit stuff to us, it'd be nice to have something in advance.
But I think it
to-
includes members.
Oh, okay.
Like,
that
if
includes
you
members.
create an agenda and then a member decides they're gonna present something that's not in the agenda, like, it shouldn't be presented. Whether it be documents or,
Gotcha. Yeah, no, so, yeah, if it's gonna be something substantive, not just, you know.
right, but it would include members
Got
of the
it.
public too, in making public
Got it.
comment. If
I
they're
was
gonna be
thinking
presenting
public.
something, they should have presented it to the committee chair prior to the meeting.
Yep,
Yeah, I think this question still stands though, is should it be 2 weeks or 1 week?
I think it should be a couple days, honestly, because sometimes things come up, especially later in the budget season, where it's like, we're meeting so often, and somebody will hear something and be like, I'd really like to come speak on this. I think, actually, Jillian was one, for example, last year, and Jillian was like, I'd like to come, I don't even know if it was tonight or the day before, and we were able to accommodate her, which I think is important
So-
too.
I wouldn't wanna have a rule that prohibited public.
No, and I guess that's not, my point is not public comment.
Okay.
You
So
know,
that would be the
I'm
difference
talking
here.
a presentation. If you've got 5 pages of a PowerPoint and you give it to all the members of the committee, and then you're going through it during that meeting, that it was never presented to the members
You're talking
before.
budget members or
Or members of the public,
general-
same thing. It's
general
the
public.
same responsibility.
I
It's
agree
like
with
if you
that.
wanna get stuff out to us,
Do
it's
we-
presented in advance.
Would it make sense to break that into 2 sections?
Or
Maybe?
just say it doesn't, not
Or-
applying to public comment or something.
Yeah.
Anything over 5 minutes. You get 5 free minutes and that's.
go to Manchester, they don't give you 3.
Takes us 5 minutes to say
You mean
hello.
the hour
It does.
So do we want, if we're, 5 minutes for public comment, but if somebody has something that they want to present, should they not only provide the materials in advance, but they should work with the chair to get on the agenda?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So maybe we can use the words individuals making formal presentations to the committee or something to sort of bulk up that term to make it more
And that's why it
obvious that
references,
it's
like-
not just public sec.
That's kind of iggy. I mean, if somebody wants to come down here during public comment,
Right.
you might be handcuffing people saying, putting,
True, does that technically get us in trouble with free speech?
Especially on the hearings, I think you gotta let it.
Well, we're not denying their ability to speak,
No.
we're saying they have to follow the process.
Right.
How
They
about
can
it's
definitely speak to it.
something like it's
Difficult though,
preferred?
you know?
Strongly recommended.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah, how about that? That makes sense. Instead of shall, individuals making formal presentations to the committee should submit any documents containing, not shall.
Should is a great word because it doesn't bind us to anything.
Yeah.
shall means you have
It's
to.
a good direction.
Should
as to
means
what
you-
we
Well,
need to
so
do.
again, I
should.
don't wanna blow this whole thing up, but this seems a little bit outside the bylaws because it's governing like how, we almost have to approach it from the other way. The bylaws can only speak to how we operate as a committee, so it would have to be something like the chair or vice chair or something would make every effort to coordinate with the public to, to get a formal presentation on the agenda or whatever that, because
Oh, I
the
see what you're
bylaws
saying.
can't speak to how the public
Ma-
operates.
That makes sense.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to prevent somebody that's,
Right.
who just worked a 73-hour week to take the time to come in and talk to the committee and be rejected.
No,
No, I
and
don't
again,
think-
That's bad news.
yeah, and I'm differentiating between public comment and a presentation.
Yeah, and that's what I
yeah.
was wondering if we can stab at a little
Yeah.
more carefully. So maybe individuals desiring to make a formal presentation should work with the chair of the committee to get on the next agenda and provide reasonable documentation to back up their
Yeah.
presentation.
Yep.
Does that work then? Maybe that's a better way to not interfere with the public comment aspect of it, but saying that if you do want to get on the agenda and you want, a formal 15, 20-minute
And to
discussion,
your point, Joe,
presentation and all of that.
because I think I am including the committee members at the same point, is so maybe if we want to include it in the bylaws for the committee members as well.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, we can,
Yeah.
I wouldn't limit it to documentation either. I would,
That's what we're saying
if somebody,
should, right?
if somebody were to reach out to you all and said, hey, I want to come down and talk about this for 10 minutes,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
then,
some document. They can just speak for 10
Right.
minutes. Yeah.
yeah, they should be able to.
Yeah, agreed.
but if they have a 15-page PowerPoint and then decide they're going to review it and they hand it out.
And
at
blow
the- Right,
everybody up.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Jillian, to your point is well taken, and the way that it's written is about how we as a committee will handle public comment versus how we as a committee will handle people who want to come with, a little more formal discussion or presentation. And it's, the chair will work with that person to see if they have any materials that they want to present and get those to the committee before the meeting, if possible.
Because public comment in
Yeah.
this,
Right.
these are two different things. Public comment, we don't have
It
to
should
Well, that's
be
not
respond.
my point was more
what
like,
people out dealing with us do.
my point was more grammatical in a sense, that the bylaws can only dictate how the committee operates. We can't dictate rules
Right.
to the public.
I get
And
you.
so it's just switching the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of the
yeah,
sentence.
that's, it's the same.
I'm almost wondering, though, should we be clear here somewhere? And I'm not sure how to word it, but something that says we're still open to public comment. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it can be something like, the committee, welcomes public comment. And, I don't know, Owen, if you want to set aside, like, the school board has a very defined public comment period in their meeting agenda, right? The select board never has. It may now, but in
It
the
does.
past. In the past, we would let people.
It didn't have that before. It was just waltzing and,
People could
yeah,
just,
the grievances.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I guess the question is, Owen, how do you want to handle that public comment? Do we want it to be a specific part of the agenda?
Maybe if we put it under the regular meeting format up above, maybe that helps to also put it in place.
Yep.
So maybe after roll call.
After roll call.
I would suggest like 2 paragraphs and breaking this in half still, and just saying, get, this board is open to public comment and stuff like that. But if somebody wants to come in with a presentation, then
Yeah,
you need
exactly.
proper notification. If you got 15 people to come in here for public comment and somebody walks in and they got a PowerPoint and all that stuff, and it takes up everybody else's time, that's rude.
Yeah.
And it could be alleviated.
And we can say it's actually the chair's responsibility to coordinate with that individual.
Right.
to make
And I
sure
think
that they
that's
have
how we word it, yeah, so
Sufficient
it's
time on the
us.
agenda.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't leave it in 1 paragraph. I would break it into 2. My suggestion. I don't.
And there'll be a-
Maybe
Yeah,
if
and-
there's a particular section that needs to be sent out prior to the next meeting. It seems like there's a lot of discussion
Yeah.
around it. Maybe it needs another iteration.
So maybe take a stab at it, but we're all gonna be looking at it again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sort of try to grab something about what we
Yeah.
talked.
So
2 paragraphs, some of the language, and then we'll wordsmith it next time when we're
what
a
I
little
can do,
closer.
Owen, is I can take take a pass at making the edits, send it to you.
I'll review it.
And you can
Try to
review
make
it.
sure we're grabbing
Yeah,
everybody's
and then
thoughts,
bring it
and then we'll
back.
have it again next time. Perfect.
Exactly.
That works.
Because I thought some meetings had public comment, some didn't. You know?
Some do, some don't.
Some do and some don't. But it was good to hear people. Sometimes people have great ideas. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, didn't think of
Yeah.
that.
Okay, next page. Public hearings.
So that wasn't something to really include, I guess, in the bylaws as much as the committee is
No,
reviewing
more
the
of a committee
process
note.
of
Yeah,
what's the
okay.
purpose of the public hearing for the committee.
Yeah, no, that can be addressed later, that's easy enough. Then annual and special town budget district meetings, I think 3 was the only thing, I think the edits to 1 were sort of just reflective of what we do. I do like the note of clearing up, maybe in this case, the may, even though we've been trying to make things a little more open-ended, but this one, Budget Committee may convene for a special meeting if any amendments to articles are voted on at the deliberative. I think, to Tim's point, and it made a lot of sense to me, is should we just plan on that in advance, or should we not do it at all?
I guess, yeah,
May
'cause I'm
seems
just-
like it's gonna be tricky to figure out.
Who makes the decision as to
Yeah.
whether you reconvene if you
Yeah.
can't have a public meeting to decide to convene?
Yes, that is tricky. So maybe it's just if. So I guess either the question is, do we want it in here and change it to a will? So Budget Committee will reconvene, or will convene a special meeting if amendments to articles are voted on at deliberative, so that we can re-vote the recommendations based on the new edits? Or do we want to not do that going forward? I guess
Like we
that's
did
the
last
question.
year.
Because we didn't last year, right?
No, we did.
We did?
Yeah, we met after.
We did.
Oh, right, we did, you're
We
right.
did because somebody, John Decker was absolutely going to change his vote.
Right.
And so we had to, whereas the school board did not.
That's right,
So the school board
It was
did
over the
not-
41,000.
yeah.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't meet? I mean,
That's what I,
right, it seems
I
to
wouldn't
me
think,
if-
so maybe it's just change it to will,
Yeah.
if that's what we've done and that makes the most sense to everybody?
Agree.
Okay.
All right.
What line, where is that?
Straight, the,
Yep.
Like May.
You like May?
Me too, because it's kind of like, the budget committee will reconvene if any amendments to articles
I
are.
like May because. if
I like
no one's
May
gonna
as well.
change their vote, we don't need to.
It may not be something that we need to revote on.
Right.
It might be inconsequential as a amendment.
So who gets to make the determination? then?
that's,
Chairman?
that was my original question is
there you
that,
go.
Does it go back to the chairman then decides about if it needs to
Yeah,
reconvene?
Because you as a chairman can poll individual members and determine if there is a need.
if like there's a warrant article that is increased by $100,000 at the deliberative, and I voted yes on it in our original meeting, and so the committee voted 9-2 yes, well, I have a feeling people would want to change their votes.
Right.
Yeah. But then again, if we say will and somebody changes it $1,
Right.
then we have to come back and re-vote on it.
Yeah.
That does seem silly.
So
It's got to be May.
So may at the discretion of the chairman? Is that the statement?
Majority, how about, what if we did a
But then you'd have to
majority?
have a meeting.
I
Have to
think
have a
if, I
meeting to
just
vote.
think May,
Discretion, may,
Put it may, but put it as one of your responsibilities.
is the response, yeah.
If,
And then I
What?
think to do that, just,
what if
Maybe
we
not.
just left it as is?
yeah.
we need to,
It says may
calendar and announce.
right
it.
there, just
I
leave it
agree.
as
Last
written.
year, there wasn't hardly enough
I
time
agree.
to hold legal
If you
meeting.
read C,
That's right. we
So
did
I must
that.
have thought of all this.
Whereas the school board already announces theirs, so if the school board needs to meet immediately after theirs, they've already announced it
announced
and
it.
everything else. So if we're gonna have this,
They meet at the
option.
end of the deliberative
yeah,
meeting.
we have to do that, we have to plan on that too. Maybe we shall meet at the end of the deliberative sessions and vote if there's any vote necessary.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Cause we're already
We're
there,
already there anyway.
things changed, we've already announced our meeting, we already put an agenda out for our meeting. If we change, we're already there, we get together for 4 minutes, we vote and we're done.
So do it.
Good idea.
Do it right after, just like the school board does. These
I would-
people don't want-
Who came up with that?
I would say 3, we
Although they had a full
leave it
French
as written, because that's exactly what's going on, and that's how we
But
do
we
it.
absolutely are all at the deliberative session, so if we have a pre-scheduled meeting, then we can either,
Do
we
it.
can meet for 2 seconds and adjourn,
it.
or we can discuss whatever needs to happen.
Yeah,
And if
and
you
we
weren't
just-
there, you don't get to vote,
And we
sorry.
just adjust the schedule
Yeah, we'll have to
the
announce it.
calendar to have a
and that's it.
statement to that effect on the calendar. And that qualifies as our public notice requirement.
Yeah, but it says we may convene.
Does it? Does it?
No, we'll have to announce it.
You have
We
to
ha-
post
well,
it.
yes, but we still have, we post all of these meetings.
Right, so it
But if
has,
it's on the calendar with that heading, that's how it gets posted. That's what I'm saying.
No, they list it separate on the website. I think Ellen puts a separate notice on the website. We just have to look into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that qualifies as official posting.
No, I agree. This in and of itself doesn't qualify. Sorry, I said it wrong. If we put it on this, then when Ellen officially posts whatever it is, it will include that.
she just works
Then
off
it's the
that
done deal.
list.
Then it's the done deal, because she's working off this
And I
list.
think
That's what
we
I'm
need-
trying to say.
I think we need an
I didn't say it
agenda
right.
listed ahead of time too.
Yes.
Yep,
So when you post the meeting, when you post the deliberative session, you also post that there's a budget committee meeting after it.
after the
Yes.
deliberative and the town deliberative and the school deliberative.
Right,
Yep,
right.
that's what we should do.
That's a good idea.
Excellent.
There was one above, though, that I think was part of,
Did I miss one?
C? Tim, I think having a discussion about the purpose of public hearings with the committee prior to the hearing is
So this was
important.
in an email, so he just threw it into this spot. This
Okay.
I
was
didn't
just,
know where to put it.
Okay,
It
okay.
wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to be
Okay.
part of the
Yeah,
document.
yeah,
That was a
sorry.
confusion on my part.
yeah.
That's food for thought for later, not part of bylaws. That was my.
Okay.
Voting procedure, so there it is, F. So that definitely is something we're gonna wanna talk about, because that is very unique to this board. That ties approval.
So,
I think the rest of this all makes sense, and it's how we already do it. So then the only question is do we want to add that portion to this section, stating that a tie, which is not, is a positive, which is not Robert's rules or standard operating, so we would want to put that in separate if we want to continue that practice.
Why do we do it that way?
I don't know.
Cause it's cool, man. We're the only ones that do.
we're the cool kids.
No,
It just doesn't seem,
I don't understand. Does anybody know
Correct.
the history on where that started from? I know it's been how it's been done for a long time. John talked about it. It's always been done
It's
that
always
way.
been done. Michael Keister talked about it.
Yeah, it's something people have talked about for a long time, but I don't know the why.
It just doesn't.
So personally, I think that the school board, the select board, and the budget committee should all do it the same way.
Yeah, for sure.
To avoid confusion for people.
Well, they can change and do it our way too.
That's fine.
Yep.
So you just signed up to go and communicate with the other boards?
I just think if you're going to make a change, you need to have majority vote. You know, otherwise stay with status quo. And so an equal, to me, means you don't have enough votes for a change.
So how does school board do it?
I'm unsure.
You haven't had a four-person vote yet?
Well, we
Yeah.
had a four-person vote last year when we were appointing people.
We had a 10.
And,
A 10,
5-5.
And we.
Hi, someone took the
we
vote away, now the planning board didn't do that, they
gracefully
flipped
got
for it.
solved because
So you
the
forces someone to take the vote
selectmen
away.
decided to ask for a revote and someone changed their vote. But if no one decided to change their vote, I mean, we would need to decide how to resolve that.
Protocol
And
for-
the status quo that we had, a short member wouldn't work.
This board had an absence, so you got
Right.
10 people in here, you got 5, and
I thought the planning board did that ahead of time, they flipped for it, instead of someone taking back their vote.
I was gonna jokingly say that, but
I saw that.
I didn't know if I'd get vilified
Yeah,
for
swap
it.
papers. What are we doing here? Wait a second, they flipped for it? Really? Wow.
Pick a
Okay,
flip.
so I guess the point is, like, what are people's feelings? Do people want to go with sort of what this board has done traditionally, or what is more commonplace through the rest of the town? I've sort of heard both,
So wait,
so
what has this board done? What has this committee done?
tie votes or approval.
Tie equals approval.
Yes.
So that's been the tradition.
Technically, that shouldn't be unless someone doesn't show up, right, technically.
But
So-
that happens.
it's
Some people
gonna
on
happen.
vacation, some
But
people are at
that
work,
happens.
whatever. But, so I guess the question is what's the feeling of the board on that?
Traditionally on this board too, if it was being discussed and voted on, whoever put it up first, and then you end up with a tie, whoever proposed it, that's the way it goes, you're getting a tie. But
So we do tie equals approval, select board does tie equals not approved?
To be honest, I don't know.
The standard Roberts rules is tie is not approved. Tie is
Let's go with
negative.
that.
I agree.
I disagree.
Stick with Robert's rule.
I disagree too.
Okay.
You know, you just want to be different.
So what do we have
It's like
for,
a.
No, I want to talk about this some more. I like the coin flip.
Trial by combat.
He's
I
a
mean, that was
gambler, I
the
can
fairest
tell.
way, you know, you're forcing someone to
I'm
take the
not.
vote back, you know what I mean?
I mean,
And
for
John
most,
just
for
said
most
abs-
reasons, we
you
could
know
do.
what I mean?
it
That's- that
could
wasn't
be-
right.
You can go with either approve or disapprove. I'm just thinking of at the time when we were choosing a member, we couldn't go approve or disapprove. We had to make a decision.
And I think
I'm
that
wondering
situation's a
what
little
happens when
different.
we have
That's
to make a
different.
decision.
That's not a yes, no, that's between two people. So a decision had to be made.
Yeah.
Right?
Versus if you're just voting on recommending an
Right.
article.
so we're not voting on this tonight. We've already made that determination.
Yeah,
So
but-
Yeah,
let's
it's still a
add it,
decision that has to be made.
let's add
You
it
know
to
what I
the
mean?
document
Regardless
and
of
then
the
we
person
can
or not.
discuss it and vote on it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Can I put forward a wacky idea?
Sure, what you're whacking at.
Can we have a communication with the select board and the school board and the planning board and see if we can all align around the same way of doing it?
Good idea.
So why don't you put it in the document just for now, just so we have that talking point in there
Okay.
for the next time we review all of this.
we
I'll
should-
email Ellen tonight and ask if she can poll everybody and
Because
see
I
what
think it's
the,
important for people of the town
To understand.
that we all do it the same way.
so I will email
Okay.
Ellen.
But for now, I'm putting it in as Robert's rules, tie equals negative, because that's what we do.
Tie is negative.
Or we could go
Tie
around
is
the table
positive.
3 times,
Or we can go into overtime.
see if somebody wants to change their vote. That's
Well,
kind of what happened last
There's an odd
time.
number of people here though, so it's gonna pass one way or another, you know what I mean?
Until you get 10 people and you get a vacancy on the budget committee.
There's also arm wrestling.
I was thinking that. I can't believe you said it.
Okay, back to order.
Hacky sack.
We're getting punchy. Roll of chair is next. Oh, geez. Sanders getting the gavel before me? Oh, boy. I feel left out.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids beat me all the time.
So the only items here on roll of the chair was consistent with the BOS procedure, which I copy and pasted in there, but I didn't review. I think this was you, Donna, right?
Yeah.
Was there anything you want to talk about it or of substance or significance?
No, I don't think there was anything that was that substantive, but again, I was just looking at it from the perspective of, for people in the public, they should have a sense of how the boards operate and that things are consistent. That's just kind of where I was coming from. I kind of also felt that, like, with the structure of this, I felt that some of it was a little confusing because we had a section previously that was
Duty.
duties of officers.
Yeah.
And then here we have role of the chair.
Right.
And so it kind of felt like redundant to me.
I was looking at both and trying to decide why they're not combined or,
Yeah.
um,
So I wonder if it would be okay if you would give me the flexibility of trying to see if I can kind of.
Combine them.
Maybe mash those together?
Yeah,
I think that makes sense because
Yeah.
it does feel repetitive.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, see what you come up with. We'll be looking at it all again, so that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yep.
Electronic recording of meetings. So this one was kind of interesting because Litchfield seemed to have, that the budget committee was very hands-off on, it doesn't record its meeting, it doesn't do any of that, blah, blah, blah. So we do. So I sort of just wrote this as what I thought is kind of what we do already, which is essentially it's aired on local public cable and it's uploaded to a publicly accessible site since all of these go up on YouTube. But again, that's almost more of a procedural, not a bylaw necessarily, so I'm not sure
But I
if we
think,
want to guarantee
but the
this in our
budget committee
bylaws.
doesn't do it, it's the town that does it
Yeah.
all.
So maybe that's why they had the
Right.
budget committee doesn't record its
The
meetings.
chair isn't responsible for.
Whatever happens, happens.
Right.
Because when we floated the idea of someone within the budget committee taking notes and populating the notes, it wasn't
No.
It wasn't
seems
really
too
workable
difficult.
for us in our-
Yeah.
committee.
So I guess maybe that whole second paragraph, I'm not sure, does it even need to be in here then? If it's
No, you
not
could
the
just
role?
take out the
Do we
whole-
just take the whole thing out?
Yeah.
If it's not our
Yeah,
role,
it's
then
not our
why have it?
responsibility,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay, that makes more sense. So we'll nix that one. Unless anybody feels different.
Do we need to change that portion, like the, would be section 6, just on the previous page? Conduct of meeting, do we need to change approval of minutes as, because, you know, when appropriate or something like that? Because if there's no minutes, if we're not leaving it back here is that we have to supply minutes, then maybe we need to put like a little asterisk there.
We're
that-
required to supply.
Oh, we're,
this.
okay,
Yeah, we
yeah,
are.
so somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just not recording.
Oh, just doesn't have to, yes, no, that's what it is. We have to have the public, we have to have meeting minutes technically within 5 days.
Yeah,
I think for
okay.
RSA.
but that's
But that's not
not
us, that's
here,
town.
But that's
right?
not here.
Okay,
So should that be in our bylaws?
Well,
That's
for the
state
RSA, you
law.
have
I
to do
I don't know,
it.
do we, I
So
mean,
we-
we could reference it,
For,
but we don't necessarily maybe want to put it in. Maybe it would just be, meeting minutes shall be done in accordance with RSA. I don't know what the RSA is.
yeah.
Yeah. You don't know that?
I don't happen to know that one off the top of my head. Only one I know really is 32, because that's ours. Other than that, I don't know any of the numbers.
Yeah.
Should, actually, for my other job, but whatever. Okay. We can still drop that. You want to try
I think that
adding
one's pretty good,
meeting
though.
minute RSAs?
Meeting minutes shall be recorded per
RSA.
RSA.
Yeah. Clarifying public comment, okay.
So we kind of talked about this, right? We talked previously about having the section on public comment versus formal presentation, right? So I think this
So
kind of
maybe
just-
take this and put it back with the other one. I think that makes sense, but I do like some of the points here that Tim's raising, which are the ways that it's supposed to be, that comments are addressed to the chair.
Yes,
It's not addressed at individuals. I think that probably would help a lot of
Yep.
the sidetracking we get with some of the meetings sometimes where people get into their sidebar stuff. So yeah, I think all the commentary made sense to me. I
Yep.
don't know if people had any concepts on ideas or verbiage or anything different they wanted to look at. But I do agree that it probably makes more sense back with that other section. Yeah, in Tim's defense, his was an email and I stuck it in wherever I wanted to. So I did not put things.
I'm sorry.
I did not put things
Well, I was
in
gonna do what you
order.
did with the document, then I'm like, I don't know if that's harder for you to compile into another document if
Yeah,
I do
that's
it,
fair.
so I was just like, I'll just,
I got 3 screens at work. I had
You
stuff
gave me-
up on all of them and I was just,
you gave me 2 options, I went the one that was easiest for me.
I'm not gonna fault you there. Okay, so we could do with that and then. Okay, so this one is just a continuation. This is more information on it. So this one, we put a 5-minute time limit on. Is that something that the Board of Selectmen does? Is that where that came from? I'm just curious, the genesis.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the chair's discretion. I mean, if somebody's going into the 6th minute and you want to allow them.
Does that absolutely bind us in case we want to hear more than the 5 minutes?
no,
No.
Okay.
no.
But you don't want an hour, somebody
Right.
taking 1 hour to.
Yep.
Yeah,
Present.
just to ramble. Yeah,
Right.
it's always the fear of it. Yeah, and I mean, even in the only experience I have with a lot of this is in Manchester, they limit public comment to about 3 minutes. And on contentious nights, it'll be an hour and a half, 2 hours of the public coming up one after another and speaking. So it is a significant number of people, that's 30, 40 people speaking. And even there, they'll tell you when you hit 3 minutes, but that person will still go on a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And
course.
then the mayor will be like, come on, your time's up, let's go, So there's always that play, I think, available.
I would say 5 minutes is a good amount of time for anybody to
That's
speak.
a long time to
and-
make a point.
And put it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're not limited to that, so.
No, there's no reason we have to be hard and fast on that one. And then, of course, if we're all good with those and that wording, which I thought made sense, anybody got anything else on that? Because then there's just the last item, which is adoption and amendment. And then, yeah, that's actually, I think I made comment on this before, but yeah, bylaws will be reviewed and amended at least on an annual basis. So, okay, once a year, you gotta look at it.
Yeah.
yeah.
It seemed reasonable to me. They had a lot of different stipulations at timing and stuff, and I thought that was a
I
pain.
like that.
Just leave it at whatever it is.
Yep.
I do think a best practice would be to review them at the first meeting after the election, because your new members that
It
haven't
makes
been
the most
exposed to
sense
it,
to
yeah.
me.
So I'm not saying you have to include it in here, but I would think
Yeah.
as a committee, that would be the best practice.
I think that's it, maybe, for that crazy document. Anybody got anything
It might not
in
necessarily be the
totality
bylaws,
or?
But I feel embarrassed to ask the question, because I feel like it must be obvious, but does the, budget committee have any kind of conflict of interest or disclosure policy for talking about, like, town employment or other committees we might serve on, or?
I don't think we do.
But I know.
It's a good question. I don't think there is anything. Is there anything for, like, selectmen?
Well, we have a sort of an ethical agreement.
For select board, there's stuff that's more
Right,
about
because-
somebody who's providing services
Right.
to the town. right? And charging the town.
Right.
At the same time that they're serving.
Right.
The select board, for example.
Yeah.
But,
I think we talked about this a little bit last year, and I want to say we asked NHMA something about it, and they said best practice was to obviously just say anything that might be,
Pertinent.
I think, Mike, you said one of your kids shovels here, right? Or
Yeah,
something in the
something
winter,
like
and
that.
you mentioned it, like it just throwing it out there. Not that it makes any difference, obviously, into how he's looking at particular line items in the budget, but I think the idea was just put it on the table. But no, I don't think
But
there's
for budget
anything
committee
formal.
members that might serve on multiple town
There-
committees.
there
or
was
the
something-
employee, but I just didn't know if there was a disclosure
Yeah,
policy or.
I don't think there
I think
is.
there was something that was presented at the NHMA workshop.
Was
There's
there?
stuff in the RSA's of what you can and can't do.
I'll go back and look.
You can't,
I bounced in and out of that all day
Yeah.
because I had other meetings and stuff I ended up having to go to, so I
I think
missed
that
that
there
section.
was, there's like 6 different files that we got that I was gonna share with you to share with the board, and
Yeah.
I didn't, but I will do that. But there was something about conflict of interest, and I'll go back and find that.
Yeah, that would be good to
Yeah, you can really
know if
serve
there's
on
some
a
standard, like
committee and be
state
like the
standard,
town
or just
clerk,
a,
too. And it
an
could be-
expectation
Yeah, it could
or
be the town
whatever,
clerk
at a
plus be a member of the budget
basic
committee.
level.
Can't be an
I believe there's
employee.
something in the RSA's.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
There probably is something, that's probably what NHMA's referencing.
But I think with budget committee, it's, that we don't have any control over expenditures.
Yeah.
So the conflict of interest, I think, you might be biased, maybe towards something because you're a member on a committee, but at the same time.
And in the end, it's a bottom line vote we're putting out there too.
Right, but we have no control
So-
over expenditures.
Yeah, so you could say, I want to increase this line, to your point, $10,000.
There's a bottom.
I want to be able to get that shoveling contract, but it doesn't mean that's going to you.
Right.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
However, Robert just raised a good point about town employees can't serve on.
Correct.
No, that is yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll disclose now, I'm an alternate on the trustees for the library, but I can't imagine.
You're not a town
that-
employee.
Yeah.
Right, but I can't imagine that then I preclude myself from voting on the library budget. That wouldn't
No.
seem to make sense.
I wouldn't think,
I don't
but-
think so.
No, because aren't you elected though? Isn't a trustee elected?
Not an alternate.
Appointed.
Oh, non-alternate, okay.
Yeah, maybe just making the statement's good enough
Yeah.
for now, but yeah, we'll have to see what the presentation has. Anything else on this before Donna very nicely tries to throw together whatever garbage I made and make some heads or tails of it?
No, thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
Thanks in advance, Donna.
Okay, that puts us to item 8, school budget update through Q1. How we doing, Danielle?
So I didn't know, I brought copies in case anyone wanted it. So the district put together kind of a timeline, backwards planning based on our, timeline for here, so that we were meeting deadlines, so I didn't know if you guys wanted copies of that.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Should have presented that to the chair 2 weeks before the meeting, but.
It's not in the bylaws yet, you snuck it in. We're good.
But she is on the agenda for her presentation, so.
Oh, now we got conflicts. Thank you.
Shall we put it to vote as to whether or not she can hand this out? But if there's a tie, then what do we do?
We're all done. Okay, arm wrestling, that's right, we decided that.
So the whole idea was trying to be well organized and fully prepared and plan ahead to make sure we
Yeah.
had what we needed.
Nice.
That's great.
Boy, do you guys meet a lot.
Yeah, last night was till 11, so.
Ouch.
Tired.
You're gonna be tired by the end
Yes,
of
I
this.
am. Our BA unfortunately wasn't at our meeting last night to kind of like answer any of our questions. So I can do my best to answer them. We brought them up to the table as we had them. I had a couple of items of note. I guess if you look at the grand total, we're at 22.96% spend to date. But I just went through and tried to highlight some of the things that might stick out. Dover and Co-Brown enrollment In the default, were built in 2 extra students per high school, but the superintendent reported last night that enrollment is already over those numbers slightly. You'll notice that no partial tuition payments has been made yet to Dover, receiving bills. Same for no partial high school transportation payments.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Oh, I'm just on.
Okay.
You're all over the place. You
All
just
over the place.
Read the summary and big-
Notice.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
And things that we might need to make sure we're taking into consideration when looking at, I know we are as a board when we're building our budget. So another one is move-ins, student move-ins into the district that require services such as ESOL, which is English for speakers of other languages, and high school students that are requiring services such as like speech, OT, those kinds of things. Sped placement trend. So I've always tried to kind of like look how it's trending over time. So currently we have 110 identified students in the district. In October of last year, it was 100. And the end of the school year last year was 104, so we are trending upward.
Are you guys looking at the reserve funds at those already?
And then potentially putting more in, yeah.
Yeah.
For best practices, the board brought up line items with no budgeted amounts that are listed as 0, putting in $1 instead of a penny or nothing at all.
You're lucky John Decker's not on the committee anymore.
You'll be hearing about that penny.
Yeah,
Love that penny.
let's just simplify it.
They actually recommended it though at the workshop.
Yeah,
They said a penny?
No, they said $1.
A dollar.
Put a buck in it
I
to
think
carry
$1 is
it.
the industry standard,
Just to
yeah.
hold the line.
Yeah.
So a few questions that were brought up last night. A few line items have encumbrances that are higher than budgeted for. So example would be the school district treasurer's salary budget is $2,000, but it shows an encumbrance of over $4,600. So you said what's going on there? Why?
Do you have an answer?
No, it wasn't there last night. And then you'll notice there are line items that have assistant principal versus dean of students.
Yeah.
So the coding is different for the retirement system for that. So currently we only have a dean of students who is working towards getting her certification to be assistant principal.
So we don't have an assistant principal?
She's our acting.
Okay, got it,
Yeah.
yeah, got it.
And then one other big thing, 2 big changes with Health Trust were brought to our attention. So the medical rate finalization, so starting sometime this month, Health Trust is going to provide final medical rates for July renewals every October. So this is replacing the previous guaranteed maximum rate system, and that's going to allow for more accurate rate setting by projecting costs earlier and using better pooling strategies to ensure rates are fair and equitable.
So it's gonna be a fixed number, not a maximum number? Is that what you're saying?
That's my understanding, so we'll know.
Wow, that'd be awfully nice.
Yeah, the medical hurt last year.
Oh, gosh.
Right. The other one was deductible funding changes, so employers can only cover up to 50% of the medical deductible. And meaning I think the purpose of it is to improve cost management and encourage smart spending, so you're looking for okay, if I'm gonna go get my labs done, I'm gonna, what's the cost of that here versus here? To be mindful of their healthcare costs, and lower overall. And that's all the big line items that I tried to bring out here.
But-
So,
Generally speaking, seems like it's pretty much on budget. I mean, it's roughly 22%, you said, 20, that number? And it should, yeah, it's about 23 and it should be about 25, so everything seems to be about on track, which is,
on the
there wasn't
revenue
anything
one,
crazy.
I will point out, we did find out an answer to, let's see, there's unanticipated revenue is $10,330. That is, we are told, New Hampshire retirement overpayment from previous years.
Cool.
So shipping and handling wasn't included when they put in their PO. ESL moved in $46,652.
Can I ask a really dumb question? So your year is different. So your year goes July 1 to June 30th,
Correct.
right?
So we're through, and this one goes to, you'll notice, September 27th, so there's 3 days of.
Okay, but you're not 3/4 of the way through your year yet.
No, we're, this Q1 for us.
Okay. But then it says, so explain the numbers to me then, because it says,
Revenue should be at 75%.
I'm sorry, I'm back on the expense.
Oh, you're on the
Back on
expense
the
one.
expenses, so what does the percent of budget mean? Does that mean that's how much of the budget you spent?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
22%.
So it's not the way that the select board does it of, here's what we've got
Right.
left.
Right.
It's the, here's what we've spent, okay,
Oh,
okay.
So they spent 20, they're a quarter into the year,
Got
spent
it.
25,
Yep.
under 25%.
Right, and it is confusing too up top. Normally he puts the to date as the date when he pulled it, but the date pulled is actually at the bottom left.
Yeah.
So it's.
The printed date is
Yeah.
the date pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Any other questions on school budget?
No?
It's basically 1/4.
Yep.
Right.
A few days shy of a quarter. Subcommittee reports, school facilities. Anything, Jeff?
The only thing I got is the school put out an RFP for potential addition. Received an estimate back, and it wasn't quite what they were looking for, and I think it's gone back out.
It was rejected last night.
So,
So what was the RFP was for engineering or architectural services? Or was
No,
it?
it was for
Modulars.
it was to
Oh,
put on a modular
modulars.
addition, not an addition, but
Yes,
modulars out
the
back.
units out back, yep.
Yep, but it wasn't what the school had in mind.
more permanent,
Mm-hmm.
pre-fabricated permanent.
Besides,
Wheels.
besides that, the only thing I got is everything's working good there, so.
That's nice to hear. It's been a while since I think you made that statement.
I haven't heard, I was there,
turned the heat on
I was
yet,
there on
so-
September 23rd, so everything's,
Really like it's September right now.
as of September 23rd, everything was running good.
Pretty warm in there tonight.
Yeah.
Gosh, yes, it was. I was standing by the
Still
windows
warm.
with the fans on.
Yeah.
It was toasty when there's that many human beings in a small space. CIP committee?
Yeah, so we met on Monday. Unfortunately, there were only 3 of us there, John Decker, myself, and Charlotte. We're pretty much in that same mode of looking at the information that the town and the school are starting to gather. It's still really fuzzy at this point, I will say. They're still trying to finalize some numbers. There's some numbers that were in the CIP that I think are grossly underestimated, that they're trying to get real numbers for now. There are some things that were in the CIP, like some of the work for the culverts, that there were dollar amounts in there based on the assumption that we would have to use outside resources to get those done. They may in fact now be things that our own highway department. So again, they're trying to work through whether that's the case or not. So I think progress is being made, but it's still kind of,
It's a working document.
Yeah, it's
And a
it's
few
still a
items
work in
that
progress.
Shifted to different timelines.
Yeah.
Like one I think was the
Kiln,
kiln.
yeah.
yeah, the kiln, exactly, but replacement windows were added and, so we're going to be meeting again, I think probably mid-October.
Zoom.
Yeah, yeah.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, I think like the 21st or the 28th, or the dates we're looking at now.
But I feel like we're more on top. of it than
Yeah,
ever.
again, I feel good about the fact that it's further along this year than it's ever been, so,
It's a good thing.
yep.
Excellent. Any other business? Next meeting, October 24th. We'll be looking at default budgets starting up. So start getting into those calculations and reviews.
So for what purpose for that?
To start reviewing the default budget the town's gonna
Making sure
present.
that the right things are being included or excluded or
In the
whatever.
default
That's one of
budget
our
that they're
duties.
working on now? Got it, okay.
And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sandra, second by everybody. We'll say Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.